codes. Okay, so moving on, I would request Yogesh, Mave, and Chanchi to probably start with the introduction. So starting with Yogesh, it would be great if you could actually introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Yogesh. I am a recent graduate from NUS. Before I moved to Singapore in 2016 to pursue my bachelor's degree in US, I actually grew up in the Middle East in a not so well-known country called Qatar. Most people don't know where it is, so I just say I'm from Dubai. And then currently I am working as an associate product manager at a fintech startup in Singapore called CardUp, where I work on business-to-business payment products. And I'm just really excited to meet you all because we have a lot to share about internships, how to get them, because I'm sure all of you have burning questions that you would like to get addressed. So let's get started. I will also leave my LinkedIn in the chat now.
That's great. That's great. Thanks, Yogesh. Moving on to Mave. Hey, Mave, how's it going?
Hey, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Just a little introduction about myself. My name is Mave, and I'm currently working as a product designer in Grab. And I'm currently sitting in the core driver experience team, where we take care of the user experience of the driver app and just making sure that our drivers have a seamless experience using the driver app in their daily job. And before Grab, I have done internships at Shopee, where I was also a UI UX design intern, as well as in Razer, and I was a UX research intern. So I'm looking forward to see everyone and hear everyone, and hopefully we get some of your questions answered if you have any.
That's great. Moving on to Carol.
Hi everyone, my name is Wang, or you can call me Carol. Right now, I'm a product management intern in Grab as well. I'm working on Grab Pay, and I'm in conversion to a full-time product management. Before Grab, I was doing my bachelor's in the US as well for 4 years. And after I graduated in US, I was doing my startup in China for 2 years. And I came to Singapore last year to start my master program in NTU in FinTech. So yeah, I welcome all the questions, and please follow me on LinkedIn if you want to reach out. Let me share.
Thanks, Chenchi. So I'll just take a moment to introduce myself. As you know, my name is Divya, and I am from India. I'm from New Delhi. I did my undergrad degree from Delhi in finance, and I moved to Singapore for my master's. I am pursuing my master's in SMU, and along that, I did my internship at Rebello. It's an online marketplace for refurbished electronics, and I was into marketing role. You can all see the LinkedIn links of all the speakers in here. It would be great if we could all share our LinkedIn links here so that we can be connected to each other. Without further ado, let's get into the session. So I guess most of the people joining in here would be curious about, how do we get an internship in Singapore, and, where do we look in, because it's very important for being at the right place at the right time. So probably, Yogesh, since we started the introduction with you, why don't you start with, what do you think, what worked with you, and how was your journey?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Divya. My first internship in Singapore was actually at HP, where I was working on some mechanical design stuff because I studied mechanical engineering in US. And the way I got my first internship was I actually met the recruiters at the career fair in the US before I went on to apply on their website. So I went to the career fair, all suited up in 35-degree Singapore weather for some reason. Went there, spoke to the recruiters. I actually didn't even know HP had a role, and then just spoke to them, got their visiting card / business card, and then reached out to them by email later saying, "Hey, I was the guy, sweating in my suit at the fair. Pleasure to connect." And then they went on to tell me, "Oh, if you're interested, go ahead and apply." And we went on from there. Yeah, that was my first internship in Singapore.
That's great. That's great. I mean, getting it through career fair is actually quite interesting, looking at so many firms together. How about you, Chenchi? How did you get it? Did you also get through it through some internship fair?
Thank you, Divya. Yeah, I think for me, my journey of finding internship was quite tough because as a foreign student in Singapore, um, the key for me is just to apply to as many as companies as possible and stay kind of my interest in doing internship with them. Um, yeah, and I would do like research on these companies and organize my shortlist during the application stage so that I can keep track of my application sent out. And I also did networking with like different professionals from different firms so that I can learn from them how their experiences in them and what are the roles they're taking so I know what to do. Yeah, so yeah, I didn't go to any career fairs with the school. I kind of just browsed online and applied on the company website.
Okay, so I guess Maeve here is also my fellow SMU mate. And I know SMU has a lot of career fairs. So how was your experience, Maeve? You've done so many internships in Singapore.
Yeah, so I forgot to mention. So I actually graduated from SMU with a bachelor in business management. So I think my story is a little bit off the beaten track because I am pursuing design right now. So design was something that I pursued, like I kind of self-taught myself design halfway through uni because I didn't know what I want to do. And then I chanced upon design and I decided to pursue design upon graduation. So I would say my first design internship, I really focused on, like before I got the internship, because since am not from, I don't have any formal education in design, I was really focused on like learning UI UX and then working on side projects to work on my portfolio. And I actually also did reach out and like network. I think I attended um, this course on like General Assembly. It was a 1 day workshop, and I just like went to take a look. And it was there when I met my soon to be hiring manager at Razer. So he was actually the speaker, and I just reached out and said that, you know, I'm like really into, I want to like learn UI UX, and we connected on LinkedIn. And a few months later, he contacted me to tell me about an opening at Razer for a UI UX intern, and I applied with my portfolio, and yeah, and I got the internship. So yeah, that is my, I guess, how I managed to land my first design internship.
That's actually quite interesting because, you know, when people are applying for internships, it's quite difficult to understand what really you want to get into. So actually, since you've mentioned that, you know, you did not have a lot of education related to design and then you wanted to get into it. So, I mean, how do you probably, you know, just shortly explain that, you know, what is the, how do you understand, how do you bridge yourself to where you want to be? I mean, through your internship.
Right. So I think, well, before my internship, so like you mentioned, don't have any formal background in design. So fortunately, I think the internet has a lot of resources out there to learn pretty much anything if you want to search for. So I think for especially for like design, you will really need something called like a portfolio where you showcase your work. And I think back then I was working on like a pet project. It was, I think I designed this app at a point of time and I documented it down, and that was like my portfolio piece. And I just used that to apply and for internships. Yeah, and I think that during the internship, yeah, like there's really different, like from what you learn in theory and then applying to the real world. I think it's very different. So yeah, it was like a good journey as well.
Okay. I'll actually move on to Yogesh because even Yogesh has done a couple of internships in Singapore. And Yogesh, how do you think you know, your internship has added value to you in terms of, you know, skills or where you wanted to be? And, you know, did you want to be a product manager from day one, or did you, you know, evolve during your internship journey? How was it for you?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think anyone really decides early on that they want to be a product manager. For most people, it kind of just happens. For me, I did at one point, maybe in my year two, have a lot of interest in software engineering, or at least I tried to just get my hands on coding, work on projects. And that's when I wanted to apply to a place where because my skill was at a point when it wasn't good enough to actually work at a company where I could code and ship code, but at the same time, I wasn't a total beginner either. So my brother recommended me to find a research internship instead, where you can have more freedom in exploring what you want to do, while at the same time getting mentorship from the other researchers over there. So that's why I applied to A-Star for my 2018 internship, which is the summer of my year two. And yeah, that was a pretty straightforward internship. I applied online and they reached out to me. Honestly, finding that was it was just a matter of expressing interest, because not a lot of people actually apply to A-Star because it's not that well known when it comes to internships. Usually it's just PhD researchers and stuff. And when I got the role, there was no coding test or anything. They just said, okay, come to the office, meet the doctor who the PhD scientist you'll be working under. Then met him. He gave me like this robot and said, yeah, this is what you're going to work. You start next week. And that was really cool. So over the 6 months that I worked there, I had to do a lot of self-study on like robotics concepts, software engineering concepts. At the end of it, I had like a mini research paper. I didn't publish it in any journal, but yeah, that was a pretty good experience all the way from not knowing much coding at all to being able to see a robot move and use a bit of deep learning concepts and stuff in it. Yeah, that was how, and that's kind of my trajectory. So I went from mechanical design to software engineering to, at my latest internship, also was a software engineering role, but halfway through, I kind of asked the CEO if I could work in the product team. And that was also a bit of luck. So I went from there in product team, and then now I'm working as a PM.
That's great. That's great. Moving on to Chanchi, who has great experience. And in terms of you did your undergrad from US, and then you came back to China. Then you were working on your startup. You worked on your startup for a couple of years, and then you decided to come here for your master's. And of course, the master's was, quite interesting in terms of fintech. So was getting into fintech really, the plan for you from day one, Chanchi?
Thanks, Divya. Yeah, I guess for me, because I was doing kind of internal product management in my own startup in China for around 2 years. So I can see that being a product manager, it's really my passion, and the works really appeal to me. So when I get to the point that I need to choose my master program, I was thinking about choose something that can marriage business and technology at the same time. That's why I was kind of looking to fintech areas, because my bachelor degree was not in a tech field. My bachelor degree was in accounting, so that was like a huge difference. So yeah, so I ended up in doing my master in fintech with NTU, where I can at the same time learn kind of a finance knowledge and also coding as well. But I'm not like a professional coder. Like I only know how to code in SQL or Python at a very entry level. But being a product management, it's something that the skill set I want to develop in futures. So when I come to the point that I have to choose an internship, my only focus is to choose something product management or something product related. And I think my advice is kind of like, we need to find internship that will help you in your career path, and letting you pick up and apply your skills in your desired area of work. Yeah, so, and also I think talking with professionals or seniors in your school can help too. So you can ask them regarding their like internship experience or professional experience, and to choose like whether this job is really for you, and whether it's a job that you want to do for many years in the future, or your internship goes well and convert you like full time. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. I guess out of this whole conversation, the key takeaway is to probably no one knows where you want to be. So it's more in terms of the journey. Along the journey, people get to understand, okay, where we want to be. So I guess the key is to probably make short-term goals and probably just take on the milestones that we have and keep on learning throughout the journey. And as Chenchi well said, that the another aid that we can take help from is probably like take regular learn from experiences from industry leaders or probably people who have been through the same journey and probably understand what works and what not works. So I'll actually stop you there, Chenchi, and I'll ask you another question. How was your internship experience? How were the initial days? Did you face any issues? Did you do any big mistakes? Or how was your internship? How interesting was it for you to get into Grab? And people love to work with Grab. And were you awestruck, or were you nervous? How was your first day?
Yeah, so I think my whole experience with Grab has been amazing. It was a great company to work in, and they have a very amazing company culture as well. So the struggles for me in a few days were really like the feeling of lost, right? Because in the very few days of internship, everything was brand new, and it was hard to keep up with the conversations in the company. So yeah, I guess my advice was like just to pay attention to briefings or company meetings, um, that because they are likely to involve interns in product meetings at the very beginning. So you will feel like a kind of lost when you're in the meeting, but just listen carefully and join down like notes or facts that you don't understand, and you can read up them later or doing some research. And I think, and also like in Grab or some other companies as well, they might have like their own database or computer systems for day-to-day work. So I think it's important for you to learn how to navigate in these systems, how to search for docs, and how to use the applications. So yeah, so just like keep learning and ask questions from your superiors or your colleagues, and take notes so that you can make reference in future.
So I would actually jump on to Mave now, who's another grabber. So Mave, how was your first day with Grab?
Yeah, I think like what Chancy mentioned, Grab is a very big organization and there are many products, and so I think the first day was just learning all the jargons and understanding all the like just downloading all the information as much as you can. And I think it's normal to feel trepidation as the intern. You're there to learn and you don't know anything, you don't know everything. So I think just go in with an open mind and proactively like like note down some concepts that you want to learn or you're not familiar with, and just go in with like a growth mindset. So it's okay to not know everything at the start, but it's a matter of like what you do afterwards, right? What do you do? Like, that now that you don't know something, like go and ask questions, reach out to people and find out, and don't just chill. Like I feel that it's don't be too like uptight or too anxious. Like just take it easy and just be a sponge. That would be my advice. And I guess that was how I also approached my first day as an intern in Grab.
That's great. That's great. Actually, I would like to add in here because, oh, okay. So those who don't know, Rebello is under Antler Fund's accelerator program. And when I joined in, we had not even started selling. So it was a very basic level startup. And when I joined in, my first day was, I was very nervous because I really didn't even know what I'm going to start with. And so the main purpose was to kind of have a roadmap in my mind, that how are we going to go ahead. I had a long internship with them. I interned with them for 8 months. So the purpose was to kind of outline how things are going to flow, about what are the purposes I want to fulfill during my internship. So I guess my first day I was super nervous. And I was extremely, I was shivering the first meeting I had with my boss. And he just told me that the key to working with any person is to probably listen to what they're saying. Because so there's a difference between listening and probably just paying attention. So it's more in terms of, when you pay attention to what the other person is saying, you try to understand what's their purpose of putting in some particular efforts in the work that they're doing. And that actually helps you align your thought process with them. And that really helps you probably to understand, okay, this is the main purpose of the whole activity that you're undertaking in the company. And that really helped me in probably improving myself in my performance. And also aligning my interests with the firm's interest. So yeah, I mean, I would actually move on to Yogesh if he wants to add in something here. I mean, how was your first experience with HP?
Yeah, sure. I remember my first day really well because the thing that I was most excited about was the HP canteen. That was because it was like my first job. I was just really excited to explore the building, explore the people, see what it has to offer. I had been watching all these movies like the Internship, where they show all the perks that the interns get. Obviously, none of that happens in 99% of the companies, but I was really excited to at the office within the HP building itself that I was working. Outside the building, we had like a timeline of HP printers with an example, like a model of every printer from every decade that HP has been making them. So that was really cool. I was seeing like, oh damn, this is what it came from to this. Like I would have never seen that, if I had gone to like Challenger in the HP section. And then I was quite excited to see like what can I in the next 3 months as an intern in my freshman year possibly do to make this next printer better. And yeah, I mean, the lunch was great. I ate a lot of food there. I played a lot of pool with the colleagues. Honestly, most of the fun that I had, at the end of the day, you're an intern for 3 months. You're not going to be leading an entire project. You're not going to be launching the next big printer. So soak in, talk to as many people as you can, get involved in off-work activities, play basketball with your colleagues. I didn't play basketball. I played a lot of pool instead. But just find your group in the internship itself. Like I still have all of them on my Instagram. We still share memes and everything, and it's been 3 years since. So those are the kind of memories you'll probably cherish more. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Actually, I would take a moment to probably call out for some questions. So anyone from the audience would like to ask any questions, I would actually want to encourage it. I see a lot of people from SMU. So hey guys, and so let's probably call out to the audience for any questions. Come on guys. It would be great if we have any questions. Okay, looks like we've been going superb in a superb manner, and no one has any questions for now. Oh, I see one person asking a question. Please go ahead. Uh, was that Abiyu? Okay. Okay, cool. So probably we're going in a superb manner and no one has any questions for now, but hopefully, guys, we encourage having some questions. So it'll be great if you could just, even if you're camera shy, it would be great if you could just type in your question in the chat and we would be more than happy to take it. So you know, until now we were discussing in terms of, okay, how we got an internship and, you know, how is the whole process, and, you know, what was the main thought process when we went behind looking for an internship, applying for an internship, when it comes to, you know, what roles we're getting into, you know, because no one knows what really they want to do. But when it comes to bridging yourself to short-term goals, it's really something that people would want to go about, and that's also something which is advisable. And of course, you know, talking to people who've been interning, or probably people who are, you know, industry leaders, they, you know, suggest you in a better manner how to go about it, how to talk to people, and probably how to apply at different places. But yes, of course, another thing that comes into mind is when we are into the firm and we've had a, you know, sweet honeymoon period wherein, you know, we've been chilling, playing pool like Yogesh, and, you know, sharing memes, etc. After that, you know, at the end of the day, it's also about creating some value and, you know, maximizing your impact, and probably, you know, understanding how we can do better, you know, taking feedback sessions. My feedback sessions used to be really difficult for me, because I used to have some ruthless feedback points from my boss. But how do you take it in, and, you know, how do you improve over the period? Because of course, some internships are for longer period of time, but then some internships are for, you know, just 2 months. So, you know, proving and maximizing your impact within 2 months is quite challenging. So what do you think, Maeve? What really worked for you in Grab, and, you know, of course, for your prior internships as well in Shopee and Razer?
Right. So I think the point about like feedback. So in Grab, there is a very strong feedback culture where we would really talk about our growth areas, where we what we can improve on and everything. So I think at the start, it was feedback is not always the easiest to take in, right? Sometimes it can be good, bad feedback, right? So I think at the start it was quite difficult for me as well to really take the feedback very objectively, because naturally when it is your work and when someone criticizes your work, it's easy to take it personally because you did the work. So I think over time I've learned to really see my work for my work, and it's separate from who I am as a person. And I think naturally you just be like, okay, yeah, like feedback is always good. That means that there are things to improve on. And yeah, so I think just going in with an open mind and don't see feedback as a personal attack. Always see as very objectively that it's for the product, it's for the design, or any work that you're doing, and learn from it and take it and just go with it. You know, like don't think about or like ruminate about what someone said for too long. Just take it, okay, acknowledge, and just go with it. So that was I guess what I learned from my internship in Grab. And now that have like returned to Grab as a full-timer, something that I have applied as well.
Okay. Maeve, before you mute yourself, which you've done already, we have a question for you, actually, from Bahira. She asks if, okay, so you mentioned that you didn't have any prior knowledge to designing. So what are the resources you referred or used to learn designing?
Right. So I think when I first started out, there are like a lot of courses out there, like on Udemy, on Coursera. So I would say, I mean, when I did those courses, it was about 2.5 years ago. So I am not, I don't know what's really out there right now, but I would say look at those platforms, and also maybe pick up some tools that are used in UI UX design. So some leading tools that you use would be Sketch or Figma. So they would be what Photoshop is to a graphic designer. For UI UX designers, we use these tools, so Sketch and Figma. So those are the more, I guess, industry standards. Like a lot of companies, like big companies, use those tools. So I would say like look at those and then start familiarizing yourself with those tools. Yeah.
Okay, so we have another question for you, which is, how did you manage to convert into a full-timer as an intern?
Oh, well, I guess how did I manage to convert? I guess during my internship, I think there are many factors that can come into play. So one thing is within your control. So there are like two things, right? Like one within and not within your control. So not within your control would be maybe headcount, or maybe if there's no need for another designer or another person. So that is something that you can't control. So I'll just talk about things that you can control, which is, I guess, how you perform during your internship, and how, like, I guess, being proactive with your projects. Actually, Divya, are we going to talk about this later so we can,
Yeah,
or would that be a segment where we will talk about this?
yeah, we'll definitely take it further more.
Sure. So maybe I'll just leave that question. Celine, thank you for the question. I'll just leave it to the end where we have a special segment for that. Yeah.
Yeah, until then you can probably prepare in your mind how did you convert.
Yeah.
Except
Yeah,
playing
sure.
basketball with them. So yeah, moving on to Yogesh, how do you think, how is your impact created in the internship?
Before there are actually two questions that we missed out. I think one of them was about, from Kowe, he asked about how to get into PM if you don't have a tech background.
Yeah.
And another one was about grades. So maybe I can quickly answer that first before we have a lot more coming in. I think for PM, one of the skills, the most obvious ways is if you have a tech background to go from coding into PM. But I know a lot of people who have gone from a non-tech background into PM, and the way they do that is, one way is to work on case studies on an app. For example, take the Uber app, or like the Grab app, and just tear it down, take screenshots of every screen, and analyze how the flows are going. Put yourself in the customer's shoes, and analyze like, oh, what is the customer thinking at this point? Why is the app designed in such a way? And you can just put that as a case study and put it into your sort of PM portfolio, so to speak. Another way is you can also go from so they say that the three main things that you need to be a PM is tech, design, and business, and you kind of sit in the middle of the Venn diagram. So if you want to have a good idea of business, you can read about maybe how to make products that drive revenue, because a lot of companies have been focusing on that more than just plain UX. Or if you really enjoy UX or user experience, you could just read about UX frameworks, use UX theory, and reach out with these case studies once you have them to different PMs in companies that you're interested in, and just show them, hey, like maybe for example, you have a case study on Spotify, you want to work at Spotify, just send that case study over to another PM or a hiring manager at Spotify, and try to show your interest in it and get like the first call, and then go from there with a PM internship. As for grades, I think we have a question from Kenneth. I wouldn't say it's that important, because I have a lot of friends who they don't, it's not like I have some crazy grades or something, or I know a lot of people who have like 3.3, 3.2 GPAs or even lower, and they've still managed to get good internships and full-time roles in good companies. One thing to note is, if you aren't confident with the grade that you have, it's more than fine to remove it from your resume. It's not a need to put it in there. But if you have like a good grade, you want to show your kind of dedication to it, feel free to put it in. But for internships, honestly, especially in startups, it's not that important. Yeah, but coming on to Divya's question now about maximizing impact, I think they say that, at least in the PM field, one of the key skills is to be able to say no, because you want to build only the things that are required. But when you're an intern, the key to actually maximizing your impact is to not say no as much as you can. People will keep throwing tasks at you. People will keep giving you grunt work. Like in my previous internships, I've had to drive trucks. I've had to sit in the cold out all day. And those are the things that no one else in the company wants to do. But those are the things that helps you gain trust in the company, because trust is kind of like a credit score. You do a lot of small tasks that are given to you, do it well, and then maybe at the end of a month or two, you get a bigger piece that you can contribute to, and go on from maximizing your impact. And impact is not just about the work that you do, it's also about the impact that you leave on the people there. So really try and make friends with your colleagues. Honestly, it's that simple. Don't keep work colleagues like a different don't treat them differently. Just treat them as your friend. Talk to them about what they do after work. Do that thing with them after work and go from there. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. I mean, thank you, first of all, for answering the questions. I would actually follow up with Kenneth if he has any follow back. Follow up, Kenneth, if you have any follow up, just go ahead, unmute yourself and just follow up. Do you have any follow ups on the question? I mean, if you're concerned about your grades, if you think that they need to be improved in future, that's something that has been addressed by Yogesh already. But then if there are any future follow-ups on the question in terms of what profile you're applying to, and if that profile needs good grades, so we'll be more than happy to entertain that question. Moving on to Chenshi. Of course, Chenshi, I would actually, entertain the next question and would request you to answer. How do you ace the interview process to be selected, especially when there are a lot of applicants? I mean, do you feel nervous? And if you feel nervous, so how do you make your value and how do you stand apart?
Yeah, sure. How do you ace the interview process? So for my interview for internship, I was kind of prepared ahead. So because I guess just to add on to Yogesh's answer to Kowei's question on how to be a PM if you are not coming from a technology background. So I was taking classes on Coursera and on LinkedIn Learnings about product management as well. So I was taking all the classes and just from the industry leaders on how they do things and their suggestions on how do they kind of view what is product management. So yeah, so I think I always like what Steve Jobs was saying about like you always need to understand consumer needs before the technology. So it's very important because I think product management is not a job for your coding skills or you have to be a professional coder. It is your understanding of the market, understanding of your consumers, and also time management skills. As in, how do you meet your deadlines in your current job or in your school projects, or how do you manage difficult situations between like your classmates or your colleagues. So yeah, I think it's a job with a very different set of skills. So, and I like kind of Yogesh said was you need to kind of practice your skills while doing your side project as well. Like you can take business problems and try to come up with your solutions and maybe draw some prototypes and apply what you've learned, like from maybe 10 classes in LinkedIn. Yeah, and everything from your experiences, you can kind of express them in your interview as well. When your interviewer asking you about like, oh, do you have any experiences in, product management or in any kind of tech project? Because I think interviews for product management jobs are a lot of like case study questions. So you can prepare beforehand and try to develop your thinking skills on how to answering those questions. So yeah, I think the other thing is you have to kind of beautify your LinkedIn profile and also beautify your resume as well. So, like when the recruiter search you on internet, you don't want them to see like a blank page of your LinkedIn page with no project experiences or connections. Or when they look in your resume, it's very messy or they don't have any details of what you do. So yeah, that's kind of my advice.
Okay, thank you so much, Enchi, on that. I guess it's more in terms of, normally people say that people are afraid of making mistakes or maybe facing some issues during internship, but I guess those are the main learning points. So moving to Mave, I mean, what were your difficulties and what were the, initial mistakes happened that, helped you learn and probably explore yourself? Because I see that a lot of people are nowadays are interested into UI UX. So how did you go about it, and what are the different ways that you improved yourself?
Right. Yeah. So I think it's something that I felt when I first started my first design internship, which was in Razer, was that I felt that, I didn't know what I was doing because, and I think it's something that many people might feel, which is something called like imposter syndrome, where you feel that, you don't have what it takes and you feel that you don't know any better. And I think, I mean, I was lucky enough to kind of get out of that mindset. But if you don't, I can see how you can really just kind of spiral down and just feel that you can't do it or whatever you're doing is not good enough. So I would say to really cast that aside. And like I mentioned, you don't have to know everything. Even managers don't know everything. And always see that as a way to, there's always something to learn and grow from. So I think I mentioned about the growth mindset and yeah, as an intern, you're not expected to know everything. You're there to really learn and make mistakes and don't be afraid to fail. And it's actually good to fail more, fail fast. And then because like the cost is a lot lower if you just like fail now and then you get back on your feet again. So say as an intern, there are not much consequence if you don't do a very good job. So just like go in, you have nothing much to lose. Just try out everything. It's our internship, experiment with different roles, proactively reach out for opportunities, even in areas that you're not comfortable with. I think if you really put yourself in that uncomfortable position and you do eventually overcome it, I would feel that you would really learn a lot more than really just doing what you're most comfortable in. Yeah. So I would say, yeah, just be proactive and don't be afraid to fail. Just fail and then learn from it. Yeah.
That's actually quite insightful because, normally people do not expect what's coming to them, and, and something else comes into the picture when they actually start working. So I would actually move to Yogesh again, and I would like to ask you what was the element of surprise for you on the first day or probably in the first month?
By element of surprise, I think for me, it was less about internships and more about just the element of surprise in startups. Because like like on any given day, your boss can just come and tell you, okay, we're going to scrap every plan that we had in the last 1 month. This is what we're gonna do for the next 6 months. And overnight, your job scope, the company's vision, everything changes. And uh, working at startups really lets you work on your agility or being able to suddenly have a contingency plan for the days when things suddenly change. So in one of my companies, we suddenly, like literally one morning, my boss came and said, okay, yeah, this is the product that you're going to work on tomorrow. Just wrap up everything that you did on this. You're not going to be working on this product anymore. And I was kind of shook, like, whoa, what's happening here? But that if you enjoy that, that's a really enriching experience that you will experience whether you're an intern or a full-time employee at a startup, especially small ones. I would say like less than 30, 40 people, where literally you're the only person handling that particular role. Like if you were on leave for a week, it would be quite hard for someone else to fill in that gap. So if you want to truly leave your impact as an intern as well, in terms of work, not just on people, as I said, try to find really small companies where you will be exposed to all of these kind of elements of surprise. Uh, Randomly, you might find yourself in in my previous internship, one fine morning, my boss said, "Oh, okay, you're coming back from London from vacation today. Just bring a suitcase to work because you're flying to Toronto tonight." And that was not an internship in Singapore, but that was pretty crazy as well. So I would say like really go to small companies where you do get these bigger responsibilities and surprises. And that's where your experience kind of gets compacted. Like you might get, I don't know, you might be exposed to so many more things in those 3 months than at like a big company where you have your specific role.
Makes sense, makes sense. Actually, before moving further, I guess there was a question from Bala Subramaniam. The question was if we have any tips for getting an internship in this COVID period where many firms are operating in a stay-at-home basis. Actually, I would take a moment to answer that question because I recently started interning somewhere else. So I'm currently interning with Zenyum, and it's a dental aesthetic firm, tech-based firm, and I started interning as a product management intern. And so when I started applying for an internship again, so even I had this confusion whether I would be able to crack this or not, since most of the firms are working from home. But when I actually started applying and I saw that the firms are actually hiring, because right now, people want to get work done, and economy is opening up in Singapore, so people want to get work done. And when they hire interns, they're actually looking for someone who has the drive to work, who has the energy to work every day, irrespective of where you're working from. So I guess one tip would definitely be be as driven as possible, because I understand, looking at the condition right now, it's a bit demotivating to actually apply around. But then once we actually start applying, we see that a lot of people are looking for interns. So first tip is to be positive. Second tip is to have the drive, be excited about the things that you want to do, because that's really what matters. Because once you are actually doing an internship that you really want to do, I'm sure even if you're sitting at home, you would love to do it as much as you would want to pursue the same from the office. So the second tip would be to have the drive. And the third tip would be proactive, because when we're applying right now, regular follow-ups and regular messaging in terms of the status of the application, and also being proactive in terms of what knowledge you're offering to the table. Because it's very important for us, because we're not meeting the interviewer. So when you're actually meeting them virtually, so your energy, your knowledge, everything needs to vibe to the interviewer. So when you do so, there needs to be a sense of proactiveness. So I guess I'll quickly wrap up this question with 3 tips. Again, first is be positive. People are looking for interns. Second is have the drive to do whatever you want to do, because just be excited about it, look forward to the day every day. And the third is of course, be proactive, not just in applications but also in following up, but also during your interview, because you got to be proactive in communicating what you know, because the other person is not going to dream of what you know. So yeah, just to answer that question. Moving on to Celine's question, which I would need Chenchi to answer. What are the major difference in working in a startup versus established firms? So where should I start? I mean, where should a person start applying? So since Chenchi, you've also worked with EY, and you've also worked with startups, and you've also had your own startup. So what is your take on this?
Yeah, sure. And Yogesh, please add on if you have any other suggestions. Yes, so I was working in my startup. So I guess from my perspective, startup was a little messy, more compared with established firms, because the organization is not stable yet. So maybe sometimes there is no product at the time where you join the firm, if you are in a startup. And in startup, maybe the organization structure was not very clear as well. So like as an intern, you maybe feel lost at the time to time, because like if you have a burning questions, you don't know who you should ask, or if you need any help or instructions, it's kind of it's more difficult than established firms to get. And so I guess where you can start, I guess it's you can kind of read the reviews online from where like someone they had internships in startup versus someone they had internships in big firms. So just read their reviews on what their experiences are, and what do they find like it works or something is not working. I guess you can take from there. And then also you can kind of, so for startup, it's easier for you to get in touch with some founders or co-founders. And then you can get in touch with them and kind of just have a conversation with them on what they're working at, what's their perspective, what's their visions. Because as startup, the role of the founder is very, very important, because he will decide where the company can go or where the company fail. So it's crucial that you have this conversation with them and to understand their needs and their kind of future perspectives. Yeah, and for bigger firms, you can also reach out to people in the big firms on LinkedIn as well. You can like maybe just do some cold reach, send them a message, and kind of ask them like whether they're happy to have a little chat or do a small call and kind of understand what they're doing now in the firm and whether they have any openings in the firms that you can apply for. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Chanchi. So Yogesh, do you have anything to add on to this?
Not quite, actually. I think Chanchi has covered quite comprehensively. We do have some questions coming in, Divya, so if you want to dive into that, we can, or we can.
Okay, fair enough. So I guess, Yogesh, since you're here, we have a question for you specifically. For software engineering internships, what side projects would you recommend to embark on to make our portfolio stand out?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, I never really built anything that was purely software based, primarily because my interest was more about software development within robotics itself. So for me, I worked more on robotics projects either at clubs in NUS or just in my own time, and worked on the coding part in that, like some basic computer vision, some basic learning, just get yourself familiarized with the concepts. That's one thing that you can do surely out of sheer interest. However, another alternative is you can work on something that's more relevant to the current world. Like I think, like take for example, COVID-19 is doing a lot of things in Singapore, building out the safe entry tracking and systems and all of these in place. So if you think that there is something that you can build, which you think, it might not go big, it might not have thousands of users coming in, but take for example, maybe you think that bus tracking in Singapore is still not as accurate. Like it says 2 minutes, but it doesn't come in 2 minutes. And within NUS itself, we have shuttle buses, and the NUS bus tracking app, the schedule app, isn't that good. So maybe you might be a student at NUS and you want to take this on as a project. I'm sure if you reached out to like the NUS management saying, hey, would I be able to take this on as a side project? They would be willing to. And like that way you can immediately make something that build something that impacts the life of people around you, be it a few hundred people, be it a few thousand people, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the goal is that you build something that you are passionate about and you can talk during your interview, or you can use that as a point to express interest to people that you want to work with. It could be companies, it could be researchers, whatever it is. So just find anything that you like and just go ahead and build it.
That's great, actually, because, just looking for the utility anywhere would be something which is needed here, right? That's great. That's great. Okay, so moving on to Kenneth's question again, which is quite interesting and thought-provoking. Do we agree that there is a brain drain to a few top companies in Singapore, especially in areas of finance, consulting, banking? So before I leave it for the other panelists to answer, I guess I mean we are really not from the consulting or banking internships, but just to probably leave a starting statement, I would say that of course for certain industries brand name really matters. When it comes to banking industries, of course what brand you're working with really matters, also because the type of clients you work on, or maybe the projects you undertake during your internship. So what do you think, Yogesh? Would you like to add in something here quickly?
Yeah, sure. Again, I totally agree with you when you said that brand name does matter in certain industries. But if if you're in tech, honestly, if you really want to build something cool, it doesn't matter where you go as long as you like the company's vision. You will have stuff to do at big companies, you will have things to do at small companies. Just because you only intern at startups does not mean that at the end of 4 years Google won't hire you. At the same time, just because you worked at Google for 4 years for 4 internships does not necessarily mean that you know that Google will hire you at the end of 4 years, or that startups won't hire you. At the end of the day, it's about building experience, doing things you like. If you like software engineering, just find any internships that help you to do that, and you're not just going in and say like monitoring code or building really small things. Like yeah, brand name matters, I would say, definitely for like finance, banking, especially in Singapore, like the big four. If you want to work there, the best way to get a full-time offer there is probably to intern with them. And if you don't, but you want to explore like smaller consulting companies, then yeah, feel free to.
That's
But
great.
brand name is, yeah.
Okay, so I see that Maeve is from, I mean, we all know that Maeve is from Singapore and she must be having a lot of friends around in Singapore. So Maeve, what is your take in here when we say that if there is a brain drain in a few top companies in Singapore for some specific industries? So what is your take on that? What do you notice around, your circle?
I think it's not to say that it's wrong to apply for big companies and big names, but I think ultimately I would look at the fit of the company and what you're looking for. So like Yogesh mentioned, in a startup, you are really wearing multiple hats, and you probably have a higher I guess higher control over your impact because it's a smaller scale. So so that's that. Whereas for a bigger company, yes, the brand name is there, but in terms of maybe the impact, maybe you might not be able to exert a lot of influence with your project because it's just the sheer magnitude of the company and in terms of your projects. So I would say that see which you prefer. So you can do it through like internships, startups, smaller companies, and then once and also try finding an internship in more, I guess, like bigger companies to see which you prefer. Because I do have friends who really love like working in startups. They enjoy firefighting every day, and you know it's a life for some people that you like like it being very fast paced and you really learn a lot on the job. Whereas I'm also have friends who really prefer really being very focused in their craft, and usually that would usually take place in a bigger firm where they require people to be really specialized in the product, in the craft, and so I would say really as an internship is a way to experiment and go wild and to see what you don't like and you like. So um, just be open, apply for everything, cast your net wide. I think that I would just give that advice. And yeah.
That's great. Thanks. Thank you so much, Maeve. That really enlightened us a lot. We actually have a follow up on what was discussed with by Yogesh and Chenshi. that in small startups, you'd actually have to fix everything about your job scope and role as well. What do you think should be the best way to go about fixing and defining that scope when you say that you're the only product intern in a firm? It might be a bit challenging at times to really define your daily tasks. So, did you guys get a chance to do anything of that sort? Or if yes, how was your experience and how did you do it?
Can I take this one?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, in my previous company, on my last internship in college, I was the only product intern. Uh, I totally agree with what he said, that there are so many things to do. You don't know what to do, and at the end of the day, you might have so many things that you end up getting nothing done because you're kind of just all over the place. The best way to fix this is it's highly likely that you have a direct reporting manager. They might be a PM, they might be someone like an engineer or someone. Communication, just talk to them, tell them exactly what you're going through. As an intern, a lot of times, or even as a full-time employee, it's you do tend to sort of think, if I ask this, am I going to come stupid, or like, can I just struggle and manage this on my own? But just talk to them, just tell them, so many things on my plate, I don't know what to focus on. These are the things that I like to do, but these are the things that the company needs me to do. So I'm sure there'll be something that overlaps, which you enjoy a little bit at least, and that can also positively contribute to the company, the business, the product as well. So find those tasks and really do them well. Dive deep, speak to other people who have done that, reach out to them on LinkedIn. And if you do something small, get that done well, rather than putting your foot everywhere and then not doing any of those tasks properly. So yeah, just talk to whoever your reporting manager is and like set up, okay, for the next 1 month, this is going to be my focus. And at my previous company, my manager even went to the extent of saying, okay, I need you to write down all of your professional goals and personal goals for the next 1 year. And I need you to send that list to me. So when I sent that list over to her, we also made another list where there were, okay, these are all the things in the company that we need to do in the next 6 months while you're still here. So let's find things that align with both these, your goals and the company goals, and go ahead and do that. So yeah, just talk to whoever you're reporting to. That's the best way to go about this.
That's great, actually. I mean, I guess your manager really contributes to how your journey is. Moving on to Chenshi, I really pass the mic to you. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with what Yogesh was suggesting. It's very crucial that you keep connecting with your manager and superior and keep your conversation with them on a daily basis. Kind of just, telling him what you are doing now and what's your plan for, maybe just on a daily basis, what's your plan for the next day, right? And I think it's also important that you break problems into smaller pieces. Because from my experience, I've got questions like, okay, let's build a QR scanner, or let's build this, let's build that. But you will feel very overwhelmed that because the problem statement is so wild and big, and you don't know where to start, and you don't know how to scope this. So you can always kind of break the problems into smaller pieces. Okay, like what are the features that needed to be happen before this product can go live? What's the essential part in this feature as well? So you can kind of scope the product into different phases and then kind of just build the essential parts in the first phase. So you know what do you have to build maybe like in the next 3 months, and that where like you can start your conversation with other people in your company, like your engineers or your marketing people or your designers as well. And I think it's very important that you connect with like your designers or engineers in the company as well as like a product manager, because these are the people that most closely working with you on a daily basis. And it's very crucial that you can clearly articulate your needs to them and don't decide any work for them, because that was a mistake that I've made when I first joined. Like I like to tell my designer, okay, I want you to design this in this way, but it is quite bad because, they are the professional designers and you engineers as well. So, keep a close working relationship and also personal relationship with them as well. Yeah, and let them help you scope in the process.
That's great, Chanchi. That's great. Thanks for the tips. I guess, the tip here is also, I really liked how you described that, problem statement needs to be broken down so that we could have some tasks to take care of. That's great. So before we move on, I would actually take a moment to, just recap what all we discussed in terms of, how did each one of us got an internship in Singapore. How was the whole experience of getting an internship? And, what were we thinking when we, probably evaluated any alternatives that we had, or maybe the opportunities, and what were the, rationalities behind applying for a particular internship. Then moving on to probably how was the initial experience, what were the elements of surprise in terms of internship, what was the expectation, what was the reality, also moving on to how was the impact created, and how do we create our own task if needed in case of startups. We've also discussed with the opportunity of some questions in terms of the case of startups versus established firms. So that's pretty much interesting for everyone. Actually, I would actually now move to one question that was asked to Maeve, that I see that all three of you have converted to a full-time at whatever places you were interning at. So how do you think, is there any tips that you would want to share? I mean, of course, there are multiple factors, but what do you think works for people generally?
Yeah, so I think there were all like great tips from all of us to like how you should, maneuver and navigate your internship. Being proactive is one thing. And I think just doing everything very intentionally, because all these little actions will add up to as an indicator to your manager about how interested you are in the role and how passionate you are in your job. So I think maybe one thing that I also did that wasn't really mentioned here was really to have that conversation with your manager early on during your internship, that you are interested in joining the firm. When I was doing my internship with Grab, I was in my final semester in SMU. So I did tell him that I would be graduating after this, and I was looking for like a job. And I think just being very open and transparent about that process with your manager. And that being said, having a good relationship with your manager is also important, so that you guys can talk about such topics in a more candid manner. So I was lucky in Grab that it's very common to have one-on-one sessions with your manager. So I had one with my manager every week, and that's also when I brought up the topic about wanting to join Grab if there is an opportunity to, or if there is a vacancy in the organization. So just don't be afraid to ask for it. If you don't ask for it, if you kind of want your manager to observe you and your work, I think just be open in like knowing what you want and having that conversation in a very thoughtful and tactful manner. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite insightful. We would actually move to either Yogesh or Chenchi. Yogesh, go ahead. What do you think? Yeah.
Divya, I'm going to throw the Uno reverse at you and say I think you should take this one.
Oh, okay, okay. Technically, I haven't really gotten a full-time job in Singapore, but as I talk to various people in Singapore, and what all tips they actually generally give to me is that, of course, one thing that Maeve mentioned, that your manager needs to know that you need a job. I mean, if he or she doesn't know, then probably they wouldn't even refer you further, that you're doing a great job. So I guess the first thing is to probably communicate to your manager that you need a job. Then, yeah, the second thing I was told was, of course, again, be positive. in terms of what you're doing, what you're contributing is adding value. If it's not, probably have feedback sessions with your manager so that you could improve and create some value to the firm. Not just to the extent of an internship, but also so that they could probably see you as a full-time employee. So that is another thing. But yeah, passing the mic again to Yogesh.
Absolutely. For me, I went on this program called the NOC, or NUS Overseas Colleges, in NUS itself. So the alumni community is pretty big there. There's about 2,500 students who've embarked on that program earlier. It's basically, NUS sends students out all around the world for internships for 6 months to 1 year. So in the company that I am working at right now in CardUp, my immediate boss was actually, so I went on NOC New York for 1 year in 2019. It just so happened that my immediate boss went on the same NOC New York program in 2014. So it was a lot of coincidence. I was looking at associate product manager roles in Singapore, and CardUp was hiring for it. And when I went to see who the PM at CardUp was, it happened to be this guy. So I just messaged him saying, hey, looks like, a really silly, cheeky message on LinkedIn. I said, hey, looks like we're both in the same boat. Let's sail together, or something cheesy like that. And he just found that really funny and reached out and said, oh, looks like you have something interesting. Let's get on a call. And one thing, a lot of times I think people make or could do better is when people reach out, or like students as us, we reach out to companies, hiring managers or recruiters, we kind of ask, I'm really interested in the role, can I have an interview, or like, can I get an interview? But I would probably change it up a little bit and say, can I just express interest in the company, express interest in the role, say you want to learn more, because networking is always a two-way street. It's never that you ask and you're always given, more about you might not be able to offer anything, but at least offer interest, and try to get on a 10-minute call with them and then try and get an interview with them. That's how I've pretty much gotten every internship so far. In my 4 years in NUS, the only internship that I applied and online and got was A-Star. Everything else was LinkedIn networking, cold emailing and stuff, which we can dive into later if it comes up. I'm happy to speak about it.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much, Yogesh. Passing up to you, Chenchi, who has recently gotten a job at Grab. So how was your experience and how is it for you?
Yeah, man. It was tough, if I would say, because I joined Grab in January. So my internship was originally 6 months, but because they don't have any headcount for like foreign students to convert into full-time at that time when my internship ends. So they decided to extend my internship into another 6 months. But fortunately, recently they have a headcount opened so they can convert me into a full-time position. So yeah, I totally agree with everyone has said. So I think being open to networking in a company, it's very, very crucial. And especially I think in big companies, even for the same role, they have different teams. So I would encourage or advise like for interns to kind of network with different teams as well. So like in situations like, you know, if they don't have a headcount in your teams, but they will still remember you if they, you know, have other like open slots in other teams, so they can refer you to that teams, right? So I think it's important to talk with other people in a company and also connect with them and also be useful for them as well. Like if maybe you have some project working out together and you can, you know, reach out to him or her and saying, you know, like, you know, I'm the new intern. If you have anything that needs my help, I can always jump in and help you. So, and the other thing I found useful is beside having a one-on-one meeting with your direct manager maybe on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis, you can always like connect with higher like seniors or head of the department manager as well, so that, you know, they also, because they have a very busy schedule, so they may not know that you are the new intern in the company. So it is good for you to connect with them on their higher level, so that they know like, oh, you are the new intern and you are working on this project. So they can keep a close eye on you. And when it comes for, if there are any open slots in the company, you can always reach out to them and ask if they can refer you to that department or that team. It will be easier. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Thanks so much, Anshi. So probably, I guess we have our takeaways for the session. I would, just or leave the session to an open mic session wherein people can, ask any questions that they have, and you can just simply switch on your mic and go ahead and just ask any question that you have with regards to any of the segments that we discussed on. So yeah, leaving it to the audience, guys.
Meanwhile, while they ask questions, there is one topic that I really wanted to speak about, which not a lot of people use. Basically, it's cold emailing. What I mean by cold emailing is essentially you find a role in a company that, like, maybe it's a PM internship role, say at TransferWise or something. You find it, but you go on LinkedIn and you see there are 100 applicants already. You might be guessing, how do I stand out? What can I do to, like, this is a role that I truly want, but how am I going to stand out and express interest? That could be one possibility. Another possibility is that there are no open internships at the company you want to work in, which is what happened at my previous company, Caper, in New York. And what happened was I literally just found this, like, there were only 6 employees. So I spammed the CEO and CTO on LinkedIn. They didn't reach out. So cold emailing is when you essentially guess someone's email ID and you send them an email saying, hey, this is Yogesh. I found this company. I think what you guys build is really cool. Can I get on a call with you? I want to learn more about it and see what I could potentially do with you guys. Can we work on something together? And there are hundreds of resources on how to guess these emails, but generally the email ID usually is something like, if it's my name, it's usually either yogesh.parthasarathy at company.com or yogesh underscore something. There are like these permutation combinations of email IDs. So put all of those email IDs in BCC so that if, out of the 10 email IDs that go in BCC, if 9 of them, chances are 9 of them don't exist. So they come back to you as a mailer daemon. The one that works actually goes to that person. That way, it doesn't look like you're desperate. It looks like you actually messaged them knowing what the email ID is, but actually you didn't know. You just guessed it. And people really like it because it's kind of like you're not just expressing interest in the company, but in them. You want to talk to them. And that's a good way to get someone to speak to. So yeah, if there's something that you really want to do and you want to stand out, just cold email. If you want to be even more daring, just cold call them. Like, somehow find their phone number somewhere. You can go ahead. And if you tried all of these and you still don't know how to find their email ID, what I did was I wanted to find the CTO's email for my previous company. I went on GitHub. There's like this HTML code that you can write, which will parse GitHub and find out who posted like a branch of that code. And it literally shows the email ID that posted it. And it happened to be his personal ID. So I emailed him saying, hey, I'm spamming you on LinkedIn. I'm spamming you on Facebook. I'm spamming you on email again now. I know it's a personal email. Just be honest. Say, I'm really annoying you at this point, but I really want to work for you guys. And I'm sure they will get back to you if you express that much interest in the company.
Both are
yeah. So if you guys want any of these little tricks on how to get, like, shoot the hiring manager right in the head and get into their DMs, DM me and I'll help you out. Yeah.
I'm soon going to reach out to you, Yogesh. Moving on, Maeve, do you have anything to add on to these hacking skills? Have you tried anything?
I've not really done what Yogesh did, but just the good old messaging on LinkedIn, asking for coffee chats. Yeah, I've done that. I've been rejected so many times. It's just part and parcel. Just send your email. There's nothing to lose and everything to gain if one replies to you. So just be open. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Maeve. So moving on to the Q&A session, Q&A segment. So I would call out to the audience again to just switch on your camera, switch on your mic, and go ahead with your question. Shoot your questions to us.
Again, if you're shy, we totally get it. Put it in the chat. No pressure. But we all, all of you guys, I'm sure you guys look really good. We'd like to see your face too, if you can.
I see someone coming up. Keshav, go ahead.
Hi guys. Thank you so much for sharing, first of all. So I just have one question for all of you. Like, if you'd like to explain about your internship experience in maybe like one word or just one line, what would that be? Just curious.
Starting with Chenchi.
I would say memorable, because yeah, I was being with this company for 8 months now, and everyone I have met was so friendly and helpful and care. And also my direct manager, he's my personal friend right now. And I would say the whole experience is just being wonderful. And I've learned so much from being in their teams and working with them on the projects itself. So yeah, I've made a lot of mistakes on the way. And thankfully they are not remembering my mistakes. Yeah, so it was, I think the internship can definitely bridge into a full-time job if you find it really like something you want to do in the future, or for the or for like 3 more years or 5 more years. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Maeve. Come on, one word.
Yeah, I think mine would be impactful. So I think especially, I guess, the role that I'm in, we design interfaces for users to use. So in that way, there is I guess a direct impact onto how the user might feel, my experience with whatever you design. So I think that was something that was very memorable for me, that like just understanding the outcome once your work is out there, how it's being received, what do people think. So I think that was very meaningful, and also a very humbling experience when someone completely doesn't get what you designed, like they don't know what you're designing. So I think that was also very humbling to know that, like, you gotta always be considerate that you are not the best user, and be humble and test it out, validate, and iterate. So I think that was my internship journey. Yeah.
Come on, Yogesh.
Yogesh, yeah.
I'm just gonna say it's roller coaster. I spent 1 year interning at a small tech startup in New York. The whole year was just a roller coaster. I went in without knowing what I was gonna do. I left with like another family over there. So yeah, just soak in as much as you can. I really like what Maeve said at the start of the meeting. She said, when you're an intern, be a sponge and just absorb everything that you can, whether it's knowledge, whether it's work experience, whether it's just life advice from your colleagues. Or if none of that happens, at least make friends with your colleagues. That's like the best thing to do. There is one question from Kumar. He's been asking what our take is on unpaid internships. I can quickly take this one, and if anyone else, please feel free to add. I would admit that for the longest time, at least for the first 2.5 years of college, I had this this thought that I would, I don't know, I think it was a joker or someone who said it, if you are good at something, don't do it for free. And I kind of really took it like as a chip on my shoulder. I'm just being honest, and like, oh, I would never work for free or something like that, I said. But eventually I did do an unpaid internship at A-Star for almost 6 months, simply because I saw that I saw the potential in how much I could learn from it. like if it's an unpaid internship to let's say write emails and make phone calls all day, I would probably not recommend it unless that's really what you want to do. But if it's an unpaid internship where you know that you're going to pick up a new skill that will someday help you in more ways than just one, then if that's what you really want to do, if the company is offering you so much, just take it. It's 3 months of unpaid work. Even if it's paid in Singapore, it's not like internship pays are like great. Yeah, you don't get 8 to 10K unless you're in investment banking. You might make like roughly $1,000 a month. So don't see that as a barrier to entry if you've been offered a role that you can really learn and grow in and network in. So I don't think paid or unpaid should be a blocker.
Hey folks, this is actually quite interesting. So, as someone who's hired a number of interns in the past, so I'm a product manager at Grab. I would just like to say, go for quality in internship. Don't compromise on quality, and don't. In the early days, you may not even know who your manager is, but just try to look at who's hiring you, what work are they giving you, and where it is. Generally, most quality work comes with payment, but there could be instances. For example, you could be working for a startup by a superstar employee, ex-employee of Facebook who's trying to build something, and he's saying, hey, you know what? And if maybe the payment for you is getting to have coffee with that person every day or every alternate day in a way, and those things matter a lot. So definitely don't get exploited, but look for value, and value is not just money.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, with whatever Vaibhav just said.
Thanks, Vaibhav, for adding in. I would quickly move to Mave and Chenshi. What do you guys think? Would you like to add in something to this?
I think I just totally agree with the guy saying. I don't have any other suggestions on this part.
That's great. That's great. Okay, Maeve, you switched on your mic and.
Yeah, I think ultimately seeing what you value in the whole process is something to think about. I also do feel that also I think just also one just something to think about is that if the company truly values that service that you're gonna offer, would I guess like if it's an unpaid internship, I think something to ponder is that do they really value like that service? So I think that's something to think about. Like what Vaibhav said, don't be exploited, but also just think about whether it's something that you can it's like a trade-off, right? Depending on what you value and then depending on what the company can offer you. So I mean, I personally don't have experience working in an unpaid internship, so I feel that I can't really give like my thoughts about that. But yeah, I think Yogesh and Vaibhav have provided insights from their own perspective. So yeah, and I agree with them.
Okay, thank you so much. I guess we have the last question from Kumar, which is, okay, so can we say that you should be open to internships even at startups or low-key companies amidst the pandemic and not fix yourself on any reputable companies? So yeah, I mean, just go ahead, guys. Yogesh, Mave, what do you guys think? Mave?
Yeah, I think for sure, don't limit yourself to just some like reputable companies. I feel that COVID is affecting everybody, even the big companies. So in that sense, there is a really like limited opportunities out there, and you don't want to limit yourself further by having that extra requirement that is imposed maybe by yourself. So I just feel like just be open. I probably said this word so many times during this thing, but be open and just apply for everything. Cast your net wide. Especially during this pandemic when many people are also looking at the same opportunities that you have, and the supply is limited but the demand is the same or even increasing. So I think yeah, just apply for everything.
Okay, thanks. Moving on to the next question, which is, should you intern at workplaces that have a different job scope from what you were studying, or is internship or internships that are related to your area of study more valuable to future employees? So I guess the crux of the question is whether you can deviate from your scope of study while looking for an internship.
Divya, before I go, if you have anything in this, please feel free to share.
Of course, yes, I do. So
Awesome.
I am from a business degree, and moving on to product management altogether now lately was a quite shift for me, because I'm from a non-tech background. I'm from a finance degree, and then so moving to product management was something out of curiosity, I would say, and you know, I could so internship, guys, is as you know, mentioned earlier by Yogesh, Chenchi and Mave, of course, was that internship is not really the end of your journey, right? Internship is just a stepping stone. So if you take internship as learning experience, you might explore yourself, you might actually you know, uh, just realize, okay, I could do something like that, I didn't know that. So probably internship is actually an opportunity to explore your own self. And you know, if it is something that you know, and of course employers also understand that, because they really want a reasoning, they just want a reasoning for what you you know, went for example, I had n number of internships and they all were into a different direction. So probably I have a story for, you know, choosing those n number of internships, because I want to explore a different side of myself. I want to see what's really happening in a particular industry. So that's really not something that employers mind. But do you have anything to add on to that, Yogesh?
Wait, I'm just trying to see what the question was. I kind of forgot it, zoned out there for a second. But for me, definitely, honestly, the only internship that I did, which was directly related to my course of study, was my first one at HP. Since then, I kind of said, you know, early on, one thing people always ask is, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want to do in life. Like, how do I decide an internship? And I would say, kind of rephrase that question and ask, do you know what you don't want to do? Because a lot of times that can add a lot of value as well. So for me, early on, even though I was studying mechanical engineering, I knew at the end of my first year that I don't want to do mechanical engineering as a full-time anymore, but I'm still going to study it because, you know, whatever, it's fine. I can still study it. But knowing that I don't want to do pursue mechanical engineering as a career was really useful, because now I can keep aside that feeling of wasting an internship when all my friends are, say, working at building these crazy things in their mechanical internships. But for me, I just used it to see, okay, what else what else is in my line of interest? And one of them was software engineering. So I tried that out, and then it kind of organically went into PM. And like getting that PM internship was like my eureka moment, where I decided, oh, this is something that I actually do enjoy. You know, no one goes to school, no one goes to college to become a PM, but when they do, they usually find that fit and stay there. So for me, at least right now, I really enjoy what I do. And that was my transition into taking internships that are not directly related to my course of study. I was just actually scrolling past all the questions, and I realized we missed one out, which we also didn't really cover much during the talk, which was, how do you stand out in applications when there are a lot of applicants? What can you do to truly, like, let's say there are 50 applicants for an internship or full-time role. How can you stand out? One of the things I do strongly believe in is people, or like, including myself, a lot of times we tend to look at an interview as a test. We look at it as an exam, like, I don't know, like PSLEs or something, or the SATs. We're going to go in, we're going to be bombarded with all these questions. If I make a mistake, it's the end of the world. I'm not going to pass, I'm not going to get this job. But force yourself into a mindset where you look at the interviewer, think of making an acquaintance or a new friend with them. Always when I go in, one of the tricks I pull out of my sleeve is, if it rained, I'll tell them, oh man, it was a rainy day. Or just like some silly small talk, just to get the mood a little less, lighten the mood up a bit. Or the chances are they've also been sitting through a lot of interviews. So recently my brother and I were talking about this, and he said that one of the things that he does was, he always says, oh man, you've been having a long day of interviews, haven't you? So that kind of empathy, building that empathy with your interviewer, makes you look like a better person to work with. And at the end of the day, there will always be someone who's a better PM than you. There'll always be someone who's a better UI UX designer than you. But your goal is to find someone that is to prove that you're someone that they want to work with, and not just someone who can get the job done. So really try that. But all of this, of course, only after you've gotten the interview. But for getting the interview itself is where the whole cold emailing, working on your side project things come in, online networking, career-fi networking. That's pre-interview. So yeah, once you get your interview, really try to look at it as a talk with a friend, and laugh, smile during the interview. If you're getting nervous, use like the 4-second breathing rule before every interview, before you go in. It really helps you calm down, and I'm sure you'll find something that you like, and you'll find yourself naturally doing better interviews when you're trying to make a friend.
Okay, thank you so much, Yogesh. Since we do not see any other question, and we're running over time, apologies for that, guys. It would be great if we all could probably switch on our cameras, and we could probably have a group picture, if that doesn't sound too cheesy. So yeah, come on guys, just switch on your cameras, webcams, and it'll be great if we all could pose for a group picture.
Yeah, I can remove my smart glasses now. I don't have to look smart anymore.
Okay. Okay, I'll be probably counting till 5, so that people can switch on their cameras and we can take a picture. So 5.
Come on, guys, we can do better than just 2 of you. I'm sure we all like to see your pretty faces.
3, 2. Okay, I'm seeing more people. I'll probably count for 3 seconds more. Now I'm being greedy. 3, 2, 1. Okay, guys, not too bad though. I'll be taking a picture now. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Richard, for coming in. I can see your face now. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. And we hope you had some value to your Sunday. And just let us know. It would be great if you could, fill in the feedback form so that we can know where we can improve on. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks, Yogesh, Mave, and Chenchi for joining in. It was great speaking to you all, and I had a great time. I hope you guys enjoyed too.
Yeah, and I've also put in my LinkedIn again. So if you guys have any follow-up questions at any time, please do feel free to reach out. If you want more hacking tips on getting into recruiters' DMs as well, I'll be more than happy to help. So I'm going to put in my LinkedIn now for anyone to connect.
Thank you so much, Yogesh. Yep. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Bye. Take care.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.